I am Rain, a young man. I was kicked out of my hero party simply because my only ability was controlling animals. As beast tamers, we form contracts through our hearts with animals to command their powers. Although not suited for direct combat, as a member of the hero team, I have always done my best in a supportive role and wish to build trust with my teammates. But unexpectedly, the whole team kicked me out, thinking I was useless. At first, I thought they were just playing a prank on me, but the disdainful looks from Arius, Agath, Leanne, and Mina proved otherwise. I was deeply shocked by the insults calling me a burden. Just because I couldn't inflict damage on the enemy and only cause trouble for my teammates, I never expected that in everyone's eyes, I was just useless. My hands trembled, my face darkened. I began to take off my robe before leaving amidst the contemptuous laughter of my teammates. I slumped down in a spot, dejectedly pondering everything that had happened. I am always judged by others on missions for being just a beastmaster who can't do anything else. While I was wondering what to do next, a group of children suddenly surrounded me, asking about the job of a hero. I stammered, not knowing how to answer, but they were so eager to see me perform that I stood up and made a pact with an eagle to show them. After that, I heard that the group of heroes didn't have a very good reputation compared to the common people here, but the children liked me more because I often played with them, and they really wanted to become adventurers one day to earn a lot of money. Upon hearing the words adventurer, a thought flashed through my mind. Adventurers are people who take on quests for payment. Immediately, I rushed to the Adventurers Guild. There, I met a receptionist named Natalie. As she was about to explain the Adventurers test, I asked if she could elaborate on this profession. Since Arius's group always looked down on adventurers, we never had much contact with them. Seeing my serious attitude, Natalie was quite surprised and explained that there were many candidates participating in this basic test. Then Natalie began to explain everything thoroughly to me. Seeing that I was ready, she started talking about the test, but upon hearing that I was a beastmaster, Natalie seemed quite worried, fearing I wouldn't be able to go alone. Her words once again pierced my heart like a dagger, just as my former teammates had done. But I still tried to pick myself up and tackle the first test, which was to defeat 10 goblins and collect 20 bundles of herbs. Thanks to my beast tamer skills, I quickly found all 10 goblins and completed the F-rank quest. Suddenly, I heard a scream from afar. I ran over and saw a girl surrounded by a killer tiger, but my small blade was just a tickle to it. While it was focused on me, I told the girl to run. At this moment, there were no animals for me to tame and no weapons around. While I was in a predicament, a girl suddenly appeared behind the tiger. She leaped tens of meters into the air and delivered a blow to the killer tiger's back, severely injuring it. Defeating the enemy with a single blow, she shyly turned around and sat on the tiger's back. This pink-haired girl who exuded a noble aura is named Kanadi. Looking closer, I realized she belonged to the Elf Cat clan. This is one of the strongest clans, and the Elf Cat clan is the rarest. Suddenly, the girl showed signs of exhaustion and fell to the ground. I rushed to catch her, worried she might be injured. To my surprise, when I leaned in close to her ear, I heard her say she was just hungry, and so I shared my food with her. I sat there, unable to believe my eyes that she was real. Because the Elf Cat clan is considered to be on the verge of extinction, even among the strongest clans, Kanad said that she hadn't eaten anything for several days. After eating her fill, she began to introduce herself. I also introduced myself, but Kanad unexpectedly corrected me, reminding me that I was only allowed to call her by her name. Don't call her a lady or anything like that. I'm quite curious why she's in this forest. Kanade said she's going on an adventure because she's tired of her quiet life deep in the mountains, and so she set off on her adventure and met me as the destiny of her life. Without delay, she asked me to tell her about my life. I don't understand why, when talking about my own story, I always felt uncomfortable, but I could tell Kanade everything. After hearing about me being kicked out of the hero party, Kanade was furious on my behalf. I am very grateful that Kanade understands me. Although Kanade was very angry with the people who chased me, because I didn't care, she also decided to let it go. Although a bit shy, I suddenly patted her head to thank her, which she found very amusing. I didn't expect to do it unintentionally on reflex, but since she didn't seem to mind, I just went with it. Suddenly, Kanade turned back to reality and clarified one thing. I am not useless at all, but on the contrary, I am very strong, and my taming ability is top-notch. It seems I commanded her, as the moment she saw me, she felt a tingling sensation like an electric shock. It's very likely that if I could command her, I could also command the entire elf cat tribe, because there are only a few people in this world who can do that. But on second thought, I realized the problem wasn't whether I could command one of the strongest tribes, but that I wanted to become closer to Kanad. Then, I bit my finger and drew some blood to prepare to make a contract with Kanad. During the contract process, the contract would only be established if Kanade voluntarily spoke her name, otherwise it would not be completed. Unexpectedly, Kanade was willing to reveal her name, as if agreeing to form a contract with me. This made me overjoyed, and the contract was completed when a red circular pattern appeared on her hand. We shook hands as a greeting. Who would have thought that a beast tamer like me, having just lost my teammates and purpose, could command one of the strongest tribes, and such a cute one at that? But before returning to Firen City, we needed to complete our adventurer quests first. Suddenly, seeing me form a temporary contract with a rabbit made Kanade jealous, but she was still captivated by these soft cotton balls. Seeing me make another temporary contract with a herd of rabbits to help me harvest, Kanade grew even more jealous, as if I were two-timing. Only I was naive and didn't understand anything, which made Kanade even more annoyed. In a very short time, I completed the assigned mission and passed the test. Thanks to that, Natalie issued me an F-rank adventurer's card. At the same time, she gave me this time's reward 50 coins. She advised me that if I got promoted, the rewards would be greater, and since I completed the test in such a short time, she was sure I would be promoted soon. After receiving the money, I went to Kanade and declared that I would start taking on missions from now on. She happily accepted and supported me wholeheartedly. Suddenly, a rude fellow approached us. He was very interested when he saw Kanad was of the rare elf cat tribe. She responded to him in a cold voice, which, to his surprise, made him even more excited and wanting to invite her for a drink. Then he belittled me in front of Kanade, making her frown when he dared to mention the handsome guy she had just met. She didn't hesitate to puff up her fur like a cat, scolding him and declaring to everyone there that I was her master, the one in command. He seemed surprised and burst out laughing. For the strongest race like the elf cats, how could anyone command them? Seeing the girl exaggerate and call me a great beast tamer, he became enraged and wanted to challenge me, using Kanade as the stake. Despite all the bad rumors about me, and if I wanted to avoid this fight, this thug would probably still pick a fight with Kanade. So I took a gamble, going all in. Unexpectedly, just a few seconds after the match began, I easily took down the thug and won, before I even understood what had happened. Meanwhile, the other guy was clutching his arm in pain, screaming loudly. Hearing the commotion, Natalie rushed out to see and discovered it was the troublesome nuisance who had been bothering the guild recently. She apologized to me for his behavior and said that the guild was considering revoking his adventurer status. Before he could finish his sentence, he grabbed her skirt, and Natalie taught him a lesson he wouldn't forget. After dealing with him, Natalie turned 180 degrees and asked me why. While taking the adventurer's exam, I ended up forming a contract with one of the strongest tribes. Her interrogation terrified both of us, and we quickly apologized to her. Realizing she had gone a bit too far, Natalie apologized for her excessive joke, then said goodbye to both of them to handle the rest. Thinking back, I didn't understand why I had the strength to defeat that guy, so Kanade explained it to me. Because I have made a pact with one of the strongest races like her, I have also received a portion of strength equivalent to that of the spirit cat race. This surprised me quite a bit, because it seems that in my hometown, no one has ever made a pact with one of the strongest races. Moreover, Kanade was very happy because I had stood up for her earlier, making that young man blush and unable to speak. After that, we set off on our assigned mission. Kanade had always imagined adventurers would be swinging greatswords or rescuing captured princesses, but it turned out to be just gathering herbs. I explained that since I'm only an F-rank adventurer, the lowest rank, I could only take on simple quests. Hearing this, Kanade also pulled herself together and tried to help me harvest. To her surprise, the herd of rabbits I had temporarily contracted had completed their task for her, leaving Kanade stunned, accusing them of cheating, and disappointed that even though she was my familiar, she couldn't do anything for me. Just then, she heard loud shouting from afar, so the two of us ran towards it. There, a group of burly, ferocious-looking men were bullying and surrounding an old man, according to what Kanade had learned during her adventures. They are the Black Fang Gang, with a scale of over 100 people. They are extremely cruel and immoral, always doing evil deeds. They are also a very dangerous opponent, so she advised me if I should go call for help. But I thought there was no more time. forcing us to act immediately. Seeing me so brave, Kanade was very proud. I entrusted her with protecting the old man while I would handle the rest. As soon as I said that, both of us charged like the wind and took them down one by one. Suddenly, Kanade thought of me, feeling quite worried that when I made a pact with her, a spirit cat from the strongest tribe, whether I would self-destruct upon receiving the power. As a spirit beast, shouldn't she be the one fighting on the front lines? Wouldn't that be better? But I'm always the one standing in front to protect her. Every time she sees me fight, she can't take her eyes off me and even feels her heart pound. After dealing with the bandits, I was surprised to see Kanade's face turn as red as a tomato, causing her to hastily explain and change the subject. The old man also came to thank both of us. I wondered why a merchant like him didn't have any bodyguards with him, but the old man replied that he had hired one, but when trouble arose, he ran away. Although we saved him, the old man reminded me that the Black Fang gang would eventually return for revenge for their comrades, and advised me to be careful. I thought I would be scared and run away, but to my surprise, I demanded to go to their lair to capture them all. Because I know these gang members are very violent and hold grudges, if they are not caught, the merchants in town will only become victims. I also found their hiding place thanks to a little squirrel. Meanwhile, Kanade was feeling disappointed in herself. Despite being my familiar, she felt she couldn't do anything. After saying that, she became optimistic again and asked about my plan. My plan was to use the Count Bee by forming a temporary contract, as it possessed paralyzing venom that would help me stop the guards. Kanade was surprised. Bees are insects. How could I command them? About that, I explained to her that back in my hometown, I had also been trained in the art of insect taming, a branch of beast taming for taming insects. Hearing this, Kanade was filled with admiration for my talent. Every time I'm mentioned, it's always amazing. After that, I asked Kanade to help me return to town to call for reinforcements, once again shocking her because she had never received a mission that could support me. But she optimistically agreed to return and call for reinforcements from the Knight's Order. They are a group of people who protect cities or towns everywhere, run by the state. As soon as Kanade left, the Earl Bees were all gathered, and I began to use the temporary contract to control them. Meanwhile, Leanne and Mina's group were running for their lives to escape the robbers, because they wanted to earn some pocket money before conquering the Lost Forest. They were given a mission they couldn't fail. If they had known it would be this messy, they would have been better off saying goodbye to Arius and Agath. In her anger, Leanne blamed the beast tamer beside them for also running away. He had also told them that he was only a beast tamer, so he was not fit for combat. Speaking of which, Leanne mentioned me, saying that even though I'm useless, at least I know how to fight on the front lines and can even tame many beasts at once. The beast tamer was very surprised to hear about taming multiple animals at once, because usually beast tamers like them couldn't tame 2, let alone 10. Because if they commanded many animals at once, their nerves would be overloaded. However, Leanne was skeptical because I could command dozens of animals with a nonchalant expression. Finally, Leanne decided to place all the blame for this failed mission on him. To protect the hero team's reputation, she threatened the beast tamer, causing him to flee in fear. Although not entirely believing, Mina felt that the guy's words just now were quite similar to mine. However, Leanne didn't want to believe that I was a person with superior abilities. Meanwhile, the robbers were paralyzed and unable to move by Erlong, and Kanade had also brought reinforcements in time. But they were just adventurers like me, not knights. They were surprised that I dared to confront the entire Black Fang gang. Everything was going smoothly when suddenly a loud roar came from behind the door. It was the Demon Lizard King, a C-class creature the bandits had tamed prior to this moment. The Lizard King began to go berserk, its tail sweeping everyone around. I flew up and punched it. Then Kanade landed a blow to its jaw. I told everyone to evacuate outside while Kanade and I stayed to fight. Moments like these remind me of when I was with Arius's group. They probably thought I was useless, but I'm different now, and I have Kanade as my teammate. Those outside worried and prayed for our safety. Fortunately, afterwards, we both stood firm in front of everyone. In this situation, it seemed I had gained everyone's recognition after being kicked out of the hero team for not being useful. And above all, just being with Kanade, I feel like I can do anything. Indeed, things are so different when a girl appears. After many days of sleeping outdoors, we finally rented a room. Kanade seems quite satisfied with this soft bed, but only I was shocked when the staff pushed me into sharing a room. From the beginning, I wanted to rent a private room for us, not a room with 2 beds with this cat girl, so I volunteered to give it all up and sleep outside. which surprised Kanade. She pulled me back because we had rented this room for the whole week. I had to explain to her that boys and girls cannot sleep in the same room. At first, Kanade denied it, saying she didn't mind sharing a room with me, but then she became embarrassed, blushed, and awkwardly said that as long as I didn't do anything improper with her, it would be fine. So I gave her a lesson in life principles, reminding her not to trust anyone, including me, because we had just met and didn't know each other. After I finished speaking, Kanade denied that she trusted everyone as much as she trusted me because others were not like me. Ever since meeting me, she had considered me a teammate. Hearing her words, I felt a little shy and smiled, then agreed with Kanade that I wouldn't sleep outside anymore. That night, as I was sleeping soundly, there was a cat girl next to me watching me. Deep down, she thought I seemed like a good person because previously, she had only encountered men who approached her with malicious intentions, wanting to exploit her for something like money or fame. Because Kanade is a rare and special spirit cat, they always try to catch her. But the person she met this time, me, was different. I was just surprised by her and had no other intentions. I saved her entirely out of kindness. I treated her normally as a girl, which made her very happy. She also knew about the pain in my heart when I was kicked out of the team, and she truly wanted to heal me. Although on the outside I appear to have moved past it, you're sure it still lingers in my heart. A week has passed since we met. We've successfully completed our missions, and I've been promoted to E-rank adventurer. Today, we heard from Natalie about a dangerous gatekeeper at Stain Bridge. This is a thug who always picks fights with anyone crossing that bridge. Fortunately, no one was killed, but the number of people using that bridge decreased, so she persuaded me to try taking on this mission. Since this mission had no rank limit, and moreover the reward was 5 gold coins, I heard this shocking salary and accepted without hesitation. After that, we arrived at the Stain Bridge. This is the only road connecting the mainland, where Horizon City is located, to the southern continent. Kanade was quite taken with the beautiful scenery here, and she was a little curious about what kind of person this gatekeeper was. Even I was curious. I guess that normally, since no one died, there would have to be testimony from the victims, but the people who were beaten remained silent, so we have no information about the gatekeeper. Since the true identity of the enemy is unknown, I always remind myself not to be careless. At this moment, Kanade discovered something flying in the sky. Looking closely, it was a rare member of the Dragon Clan. Moreover, it was such a cute little dragon girl. This girl belonged to the Dragon Clan. Her name was Tanya. Upon hearing herself called a gatekeeper, she was not pleased with the demeanor of nobility. Tanya was confident that she had been specially trained since childhood, because in the Dragon Tribe, at the age of 15, they would set off on an adventure to become truly powerful dragons. Tanya was eager to challenge us because she was looking for strong opponents to fight, and before her now stood a top-tier adventurer and a member of the Spirit Cat race, which piqued her interest considerably. Kanade felt she had no other choice. It seemed we had to fight a dragon from the strongest tribe. She also reassured me to go all out, because she also belonged to one of the strongest tribes, so we both agreed to fight Tanya. From the start, Tanya lunged with the first blow, sending me flying. Then, Tanya blew fire breath at Kanade. Unexpectedly, Kanade couldn't dodge in time, so her cattail, her pride and joy, was scorched. Feeling quite angry, Kanade excitedly unleashed a move to teach Tanya a lesson. The two clashed and fought to my astonishment at their equally matched strength. I then stepped forward to support Kanade, but Tanya suddenly blocked and grabbed both of us, spinning us around like tops. Tanya unleashed her final attack, blasting maximum dark fire at both of us. Unfortunately, by a hair's breadth, we managed to coordinate a safe landing and evade the Great Flame. After a battle with the Dragon Clan, I know she isn't from one of the strongest clans for no reason, so now I begin fighting in my pure beast tamer style. Then, I left Kanade behind to hold her off for me. The obedient cat started punching Tanya continuously like a tiger. Meanwhile, I focused my mind to recall the presence of an animal in the recent battle. Then, I began to form a temporary pact with an eagle to gather its brethren. I returned to Kanade with a flock of eagles that I had just made a contract with to fly over and peck at Tanya. Although their pecking didn't cause major damage, it suddenly rendered Tanya unable to move, because this is the Peter bird, with its colorful appearance indicating it is poisonous. If a Dragon Tribe member were to receive that amount of venom, they would be paralyzed and unable to move for a period of time. As predicted, Tanya conceded defeat easily, much to both of our surprise. Kanade was so happy she hugged me tightly. I approached and invited Tanya to join us. Tanya snorted, thinking we wanted to sell her to someone else. But for me, it was simply because I just wanted to have a proper conversation with her. Tanya stubbornly replied that she didn't like it. Not only was I not angry, but I also gave her a gentle smile, which suddenly made Tanya feel a good impression and blush. Just as she was feeling touched, she felt a cold gust from the displeased cat beside her, startling her. Kanade warned this dragon not to bother me, or it would be punished like this. Returning to the guild, Natalie was surprised that I had dismissed the gatekeeper. Natalie thanked me profusely and was quite taken aback by the appearance of the fiery guest on the other side. Looking at those horns and tail, Natalie guessed it might be a Dragon Clan member. Then, suddenly, I interrupted and lied that it was a friend I had just met on a mission. Tanya smoothed her hair, about to introduce herself nobly, when both of us covered her mouth and dragged her away. On the way, I was discussing something when Tanya suddenly disappeared. She disappeared because every time she saw someone strong, she would challenge them to a duel. Time and again, she wanted to reveal her identity, forcing both of us to stay vigilant to the point of exhaustion. When we two reminded her, Tanya appeared embarrassed, and then I told Tanya to leave this city first, because the gatekeeper's identity should not be spread. As long as she promised not to do it again, I would let her go. Suddenly, Kanade remembered why Tanya's identity hadn't been spread by the previous people, and the answer was simple. They were humiliated by being defeated by a girl like her. According to Dragon Clan law, Tanya will now have to go for retraining. However, she has decided to follow us for her training, as that will be easier. Then, she wrapped her arms around my neck and confessed that she liked me, making Kanade beside me bristle with annoyance. Moreover, Tanya also asked me to form a contract with her. Even I didn't expect that I not only made a pact with the Spirit Cat tribe, but also with the Dragon tribe. After making the pact, a red pattern appeared on Tanya's hand. Now she understood what it felt like to be commanded. It was as if it kept her connected to me all the time. As for me, I felt like I had used up all the luck of my life. Meanwhile, Arius's group had been struggling through the forest for a week with no success. Suddenly, Arius had the idea to lure me back to help the group, and after conquering the Lost Forest, they would abandon me once again. Kanade and Tanya were facing tension, fighting over the bed, while I was relaxing, lying on the floor, sleeping soundly, oblivious to the world. Finally, Tanya joined my party, and this time the mission we received was to eliminate slimes. Slimes are monsters that many adventurers ignore, leading to their proliferation and frequent damage through crop destruction. It seems Kanade also quite dislikes slimes, because whenever she punches them, her hands get sticky all over. Hearing this, Tanya smugly said she would use her fireball to destroy them in an instant. Seeing this, Kanade was greatly impressed by Tanya, as someone was willing to bear the burden. The joy of both made me very relieved, as I feared they wouldn't be able to get along. After a period of searching, we still couldn't find any slimes, so I used assimilation magic to search for slimes by transferring a part of my soul into this bird to fix my consciousness. This way, I will be able to freely control the bird. This is assimilation, one of a beast tamer's skills. Kanade and Tanya were dumbfounded, not expecting me to be able to do such a thing. After that, I flew to find the slimes, nest, and asked the two to watch over my body. A little later, I led them to the slimes' breeding ground. Kanade was planning to handle it quickly, but Tanya thought about letting me practice magic. When asked, I replied that I had practiced the fireball with basic healing magic. Hearing that, Tanya urged me to try the fireball magic to deal with them. I said my power wasn't strong enough to handle all of those greenies, but I still decided to try to concentrate once and cast a fireball. Unexpectedly, my strength was abnormally great, completely annihilating all the slimes. Tanya explained that it was because I had made a contract with the Dragon tribe, which was her. The Dragon clan's magic is said to be the second highest among the strongest clans, so now, within me, I possess the power of a Dragon Clan member. Hearing that, I felt like I was about to pass out, because now I had two sources of power within me from two of the strongest races, to the point where I couldn't keep up. After that, Tanya and Kanade trained my magic together. But who knew this dragon teacher would be so fierce, leaving me so exhausted I could barely breathe. But thanks to that, I learned most of how to control mana. After receiving payment from the guild and stepping outside, I took the two beauties out for a full meal, but the one who was left dumbfounded now was me. because these two people's appetites were so tremendous that even a tycoon couldn't afford to feed them. After finishing my meal, Tanya asked me where I had learned my taming skills. I didn't think it was a very interesting story, but I told them about my tamer's power, which I learned in my homeland. It was a village of beast tamers, and my parents were also beast tamers. That's why, from the moment I was born, I naturally learned the art of taming. And even the power to tame insects that I showed Kanade was taught by the villagers. Although it was a small, nameless village, it was once a good place, because my hometown is no more. Hearing this, both Tanyas felt a little guilty for bringing up my painful past, but they genuinely wanted me to tell them everything so they could understand me better. At first, I was a bit hesitant, but I thought they were my teammates after all, so I agreed to talk about my past. That was when I was 12 years old. That day, both my father and mother were busy and couldn't watch me practice taming. So I practiced by myself in the training ground on the outskirts of the village. I practiced until the sun went down. When it started to get dark, I realized that even though it was dark, the sky was still fiery red. Feeling something strange, I ran as fast as I could back to the village. When I arrived, it was too late. The village was engulfed in flames due to a monster attack, and I was the only survivor. After that, the adventurers realized the disaster and came to my rescue. Since then, I have lived and worked at an inn owned by an acquaintance of the adventurer who saved me, just getting by day to day but having to try my best. Life went on. Until one day, half a year ago, I met Arius's group. Coincidentally, Arius's group was looking for teammates, so they invited me. I agreed immediately, thinking that if I joined the hero group, perhaps I could do something, and also thinking that I could prevent the tragedy that had happened in my hometown. But no, because reality slapped me in the face with a painful sting. Arius's group only saw me as a convenient pawn for them. This story once again plunged me into a black hole of suffering. But suddenly, Kanade took my hand and comforted me. She feels I am a brave hero, always rushing into danger alone and trying so hard. They understand me and know I want to be someone's strength, because I don't want anyone to suffer as I have, so they reassured me that I am not pathetic at all. Even Tanya was quite annoyed with my foolish actions. But conversely, both girls felt proud to have a master like me. The next day, we received another new mission. This mission is to subdue orcs, and it is classified as E. Not much different from goblins, except that orcs are smarter because they know how to use weapons to fight, although I always reminded the two of them not to underestimate these orcs. For a noble like Tanya, she was confident that there was no way she would lose to these orcs. Unexpectedly, as soon as she finished speaking, during the battle, Tanya was startled because this orc almost caught her twice. Fortunately, Kanade and I appeared in time to rescue her, resulting in me sustaining minor injuries. Fortunately, I knew the cure, so I was fine. Tanya, on the other hand, looked guilty and worried about me, blaming herself. Afterward, we collected our loot and returned to the guild. When I finished and stepped out, I only saw Kanade looking dejected. When I asked, she replied that Tanya didn't seem well and had gone off alone. Tanya was sad on the bridge when she met a child who asked her what she had destroyed today. The child worriedly asked Tanya if she was injured anywhere, and advised her to speak up if she was hurt. Tanya, receiving the girl's comfort, felt a little more optimistic and thought that she had also worried about her. However, she ignored it, proud that she came from the strongest clan. This made her unsure how to face me. Suddenly, I appeared before her, which flustered her, and then she bowed her head to apologize to me for what happened earlier. Just as tears were about to well up in her eyes, I patted her head and smiled. I comforted her and told her that Kanade was also very worried about her. Returning to the inn, Tanya realized that I was not only not angry, but also worried that something might happen to her. Moreover, I even gave her my bed. In that moment, Tanya felt she could never forget my face. As it was, she had to reorient her mind so as not to be too accommodating. The next day, we set out on our mission again. Tanya felt it was time we adjusted our equipment. Since they came from the strongest tribes, it was not a problem. But conversely, I am just an ordinary human, so it's completely different. We were having a good time when suddenly I froze because right in front of us was the appearance of the Arius group. They were strolling leisurely when they encountered the Arius group, coming to greet them. Just seeing their faces made me dislike them, so I led Kanade and Tanya in a different direction. However, Arius shamelessly called me back and asked why I was as cold as a gecko. Furthermore, he feigned friendliness, bringing up our past as comrades and saying they regretted it greatly. Seeing their master being bullied, Kanade and Tanya stepped forward, looking very cool as they protected me. They were shocked to see two members of the strongest tribes by my side. They could not believe even more that I could command the strongest tribes. Then, they invited me again to help them conquer the Lost Forest. Since I can control all kinds of animals, exploring the forest or transporting luggage would be as easy as pie. His indifferent words made me extremely angry. They had kicked me out of the team before, and now they dared to make me carry their burden. Furthermore, the erratic attitude of each of them made me want to punch them a few times, so I didn't hesitate to refuse immediately. Then, I led the two girls away, but suddenly, Mina called me back. She began to sing her world-saving song to move me, saying that deep within the forest, there was a shield needed to defeat the Demon King. If they cannot obtain the shield, they will not be able to defeat the Demon King, and monsters will spread throughout the world. If they had the power, they could fight, but the other common people would not be able to. This story reminds me of my tragic memories. It's the image of the village I used to live in, engulfed in flames. This caused me a lot of inner struggle, and my kindness prevailed. I agreed to go with and support the Arius group, but they not only did not welcome me, but also showed contempt, as if they could trick these two beautiful girls. Although they didn't want to, since their masters had decided, the two of them had no objections. But on the other hand, they both threatened that the group must apologize to me properly. Even making them kneel and bow their heads was acceptable. Arius, forced to kneel and bow his head, was filled with immense indignation and shouted loudly. The whole group was arrogant and felt they were in the right. Arius stepped forward, grabbed my collar, and yelled at me for not knowing how to train my pet. I was clearly annoyed when I heard Kanade and Tanya being called pets. Hearing my teammates insulted, I punched him unconscious. My gaze turned terrifying, threatening them not to touch my teammates. So Arius stood up and provocatively challenged me to a duel. Kanade and Tanya will be responsible for the other members, while Arius and I will fight each other. The first match will be Agath against the cat girl. She was extremely angry, wanting to beat him up and force him to apologize to her reign. Kanade began to rush in like a storm, making him almost unable to defend himself. Agath began to unleash his fiery sword technique, which seemed to be too much for Kanade. But unexpectedly, she kicked him, causing him to freeze in place. Seeing that he had used all his strength, she also decided to use about half of her own to continue fighting. He was stunned into silence by Kanade's adorable yet terrifying appearance. His limbs trembled as he heard her say she would only use half her strength to fight him. Without further ado, Kanade gained momentum and flew towards him, delivering a kick that drew blood and sent him flying straight into a tree. On this side, Tanya will be responsible for dealing with these two weaklings. A mere snap of her fingers nullified their magic. Seeing their bewildered expressions made Tanya beam with delight. The two stubbornly combined their magic with hers, but Tanya simply flicked her fingers and made it disappear, simply because their magic had no effect on her. Unable to fight, they began to criticize Tanya's body as a lizard and launched a series of attacks at her. But each time, Tanya deflected all their magic. Repeating the same actions over and over again caused both of them to lose their fighting spirit and collapse before Tanya. Although she disliked bullying the weak, since they had dared to provoke her master, she would teach them a lesson about true magic. The sky was gradually covered by dark clouds, filling the two weak individuals with great fear. They thought Tanya would deal with them. Unexpectedly, she only threatened the two of them, causing both to nearly faint from fear. Tanya actually didn't go through with it, fearing I would scold her, so she let the two off the hook. When the battle began, Arius insulted me, but I wasn't angry and attacked him head-on, and so the battle commenced. I truly felt I was fighting a hero, and greatly admired his swordsmanship, but very soon after that I regained my composure as a beast tamer, and the power of this attack was thanks to my contract with Kanade and my training to see through my opponents. Since then, I've observed Arius's matches, including the number of steps in his swings and his feinting movements. I've grasped Arius's movements to a certain extent, and in each of my attacks lies the concentrated power of the two strongest races. If I fought seriously, he would be the one to lose. Therefore, I advise him to surrender. Arius did not surrender, and remained stubborn, so I had to use Count Dracula's method to paralyze Arius, forcing him to accept defeat, and I still hate him for offending my teammates. Arius lost, so he resorted to a despicable tactic, trying to rekindle old feelings and affections. But I'm no longer foolish enough to be led by the nose by them. I raised my fist and landed a punch on Arius. But, luckily for him, I only held back my strength. If I had put my full power into that punch, he would have certainly died. At this moment, Kanade and Tanya also just arrived, and rushed straight into my arms. The three of us then entered the Lost Forest together to explore. But this place is indeed very damp and gloomy. Tanya even thought about burning down this entire forest once and for all. But I stopped her because there are so many animals living here. I thought about it again and again. If there were a real shield here, only heroes could use it. I looked at the map drawn by Arias' group and felt it was no longer useful, as this place had developed at a dizzying speed. Recalling how Tanya had threatened Arias' group before, I felt more at ease too. Arias began to provide us with information, stating that the monster deepest in the Lost Forest seemed to possess a shield of truth. It is the indispensable weapon to defeat the Demon King. Although he was providing information, this thick-skinned fellow still seemed to act proud and unrepentant. So Kanad scolded him soundly, and just one pat on the head from me made both of them lose all their energy. Both Kanade and Tanya felt they didn't deserve my help. Tanya even thought of defeating the Demon King herself if necessary. Feeling that both of them were worried about me, I patted their heads to reassure them. We said everything would be fine. Next, I called a bird and intended to assimilate it as before to explore this forest. Kanade and Tanya will remain vigilant and protect my body. Flying in the sky, I discovered a hidden path. Although narrow, it seemed to lead to the deepest part of the forest, and then I turned back to guide the two of them. But no matter how far we went, we stopped at the place where we had left a marker to turn back earlier, leaving all three of us disappointed. Kanade thought we had just taken a wrong turn, but in my opinion, I was flying with those birds. If it were just me alone, getting lost would be normal, but there's no way all of us would get lost like this. Then, Tanya thought the same as me, and assumed there was some trickery at play in this forest. Next, Tanya created a magic circle and brought us to where we needed to go. Tanya correctly guessed that an illusionary magic was being used at the center of this tree. That's why we were lost. After listening to Tanya's explanation for a while, Kanade was completely stunned. Tanya assigned Kanade the task of cutting down this tree because it had been cursed. Removing it will allow us to move forward. But I wonder if there's a way to break the barrier without having to cut down the tree. But Tanya felt this barrier was very strong. It wasn't impossible, but she thought it would take a considerable amount of time. Kanade was preparing to unleash his punch when suddenly a voice from the air threatened them to leave. And from inside the tree, a white-haired girl named Sora appeared. I quickly realized she belonged to the elf tribe. Similar to Kanade and Tanya, she also came from one of the strongest tribes, a magic expert with higher magical power than the dragon tribe. But more than 200 years ago, the elven race hid from humans. From the very beginning, for the elven race, humans who chopped down forests were precisely their natural enemies. Finally, conflict arose between the two sides, and the elf tribe retreated to remote areas. Since then, the elf tribe has deeply resented humans. I was about to open my mouth to greet her, but she outright shooed me away. She even intended to eliminate us with her power, scaring us all into running for our lives. We felt strange wondering why she attacked us. Normally, the elf clan is a peaceful race. I also felt her appearance was very strange from the beginning. I think it's because we're getting close to that boundary. I find it very strange, because even if they truly hated humans, would there be cooperation with monsters? Before I could even think it through, Tanya had decided to push forward. She would be responsible for suppressing the girl's magic. Meanwhile, Kanad would chop the tree. As long as Tanya doesn't defeat that girl, it will be as I wish, but unexpectedly, I still had thoughts of negotiating with her again, leaving both of us speechless at my innocence. But then they still had to indulge my kind intentions. The little girl from before, seeing us arrive this time, became angry and chased us away. Ignoring my words, the little girl immediately set up magic to eliminate us. Kanade and Tanya sensed danger and tried to rush forward, but were stopped by me. I believe I can withstand these attacks, and I certainly won't give up because I am a beast tamer. As long as I face them seriously, I will clearly convey my feelings to each other. So I don't blame the attacks, which surprised her greatly. Sora couldn't understand my actions and asked if I was real, because she feared I would be like the people who had harmed her homeland. Although I cannot assert that I am not a bad person, I truly want Sora to believe that I will not harm them. Sora remained calm, unfazed by my words, and then fired another arrow at me. But fortunately, this time Kanade and Tanya were able to intercept it. Both of them had to speak up and explain in my stead that I was not a good person. Hearing them argue in front of her, Sora felt that humans were strange, and even the Dragon Clan and the Sprite Cat Clan were strange, because Sora had never met people like them before. In the end, Sora agreed to sit down and talk with us. When she heard me talk about going to find the Shield of Truth to help the hero's party but being trapped in this barrier, Sora explained that it was a barrier she had deployed, and she couldn't let us break it. Because that barrier cuts off the path to the elf tribe's village, she cannot let her kin be in danger. But Tanya said, "Aren't you just covering for a monster?" Sora replied that there is no shield of truth in this forest. In the deepest area, there is only the path leading to the elf tribe's village. The shield of truth is kept by the elf tribe. Now we know the hero's team has been deceived. Sora also said that if we needed to defeat the Demon King, she would lend it to us. Then she disappeared for a few beats and returned, holding a large shield with a poker face, which surprised me. Although she hated humans, she could forgive monsters even less. Here, the three of us easily received the shield and wanted to give something back. But Sora refused, because this shield of truth had long been agreed upon by the Elven tribe and their predecessors, so Sora was merely following that. After receiving the shield, the three of us thanked Sora and returned to the city. Looking at their retreating backs, Sora seemed to want to say something. It seemed I had realized this, so I turned back to ask her. Sora hesitated, finding it a bit difficult to say, because if she said more, my group would help her, and that would drag them into her business. So the little girl refused, but was interrupted by my words. I said that no matter how dangerous it was, we were not afraid. Tanya and Kaneda also spoke up, saying they would help her with all their might. After realizing they were people she could trust, Sora decided to speak up. She had a twin sister named Luna. That sister had a very different personality, but they got along very well. The sisters are the gatekeepers, leading to the elf tribe's sanctuary. Although the job is a bit tedious, Sora is always happy when the two sisters are together. But one day, because Sora's group had something to do, they went outside the barrier for a bit. There, Sora's group encountered a monster that called itself the Demon King. Although they tried to escape, they were still caught by him, and they had to fight him. But not only could they not defeat him, Luna was also captured by him. The monster's name is the Black Knight. The Black Knight is a C-class monster. Normally, it wouldn't be a match for the strongest clan to lose to, but this guy's characteristics are quite annoying. He can nullify magical attacks, so only physical attacks are effective against the Dark Knight. And the elf race specializes in magic, so there's a terrible antagonistic relationship. According to Sora, the Dark Knight's goal is to destroy his enemies, the strongest races. He ordered Sora to remove the barrier if he wanted to save Luna, but she could not agree to this request because it involved the danger of her entire tribe. She could not do anything alone, so she sought the help of the village chief. But he told her to give up Luna, as it was careless of both of them to have left the safe zone. Even Tanya thought the village chief was going too far. Now Sora doesn't know whether to choose her sister's life or the entire village. This made her very disappointed and heartbroken. Seeing her so sad, I offered to help her save her sister, which made her grateful as she leaned into my chest and sobbed. The Black Knight ordered Sora to remove the forest barrier before sunset today. If she didn't, her sister wouldn't be safe, so my group quickly set out to find him. Sora expressed that she really wanted to come along, but I reassured her to stay behind, because if she came, he would think she betrayed him and might harm Luna. That night, we saw the Black Knight with our own eyes, and with him was Luna, bound up high. The three of us seized the opportunity and began to rush him to gang up on the Black Knight. We used magic to get his attention. Then Kanade charged in and landed a physical blow to his head. After that, I punched him straight in the stomach, but with attacks like those, the guy wasn't defeated yet. The Black Knight mistook me for a hero and knew that Sora had asked for our help, which angered him as he felt betrayed. The Black Knight immediately tried to destroy Luna, but fortunately, Tanya's dragon wings blocked it. Tanya untied and rescued the little girl, leaving the two of us to deal with it. The enraged knight began unleashing his attacks. In an instant, I guessed that the reason he could infiltrate the elven village alone was thanks to the monstrous power from the Demon King. I don't feel well. If this continues, this forest will be completely destroyed. Therefore, I instruct Kanade to stop his movement and pour all his strength into punching him. But Kanade feared that, with his brute strength, her punch might not be enough. Yet, she still followed my command. Meanwhile, I on this side will focus on forging a temporary contract to summon Count B once more. Although I knew these Earl Bs couldn't paralyze him, they could distract him a bit and make it easier for Kanade to deal with him with a punch. I created a magic to enhance Kanade, making her power surge even stronger. Just as I predicted, that punch made the Dark Knight disappear in an instant. Kanade was quite pleased with the power I had given her. I explained that it was a unique, magical skill of the Beastmaster, a type of magic that amplifies one's inherent strength for a short period. Since I lacked magical power before, I could do it. But now I have Tanya's added magic, so I succeeded. At this moment, Tanya also appeared with Luna safely in her arms. Tanya was even more surprised, because the enhancement skill was a lost technique, yet I was able to learn it. I could only scratch my head and say each time that it just came naturally. Everyone was very happy with their success. The noise woke up baby Luna. They reunited the two sisters, Sora and Luna. Sora was very grateful for that. Without my team, Luna doesn't know what other terrible punishments she would have to endure. But these images are just my imagination. And so the two sisters returned to normal, like everyone else, disagreeing and arguing. I felt that although the two sisters looked exactly alike, their personalities were like heaven and earth. But it seems the two sisters don't want to stay here guarding anymore, because Sora doesn't want to live with people who want to abandon her sister. They also want to see the outside world, not just hide in the forest. Hearing this, Kanade invited them to join my group for fun. Tanya did not object to this idea. As for me, I was worried about the two sisters, fearing they might not be comfortable joining a human-only team. But Sora shyly said, "Didn't you say that humans have good and bad people too?" Although she didn't know about others, for herself, she also wanted to go on an adventure. Hearing the two sisters say that, I also happily welcomed them. And then, the two sisters also demanded to establish a contract like Kanade and Tanya. When it comes to commanding the elven races, I find it a bit difficult, because each species has a different structure. I can use the basic domestication method, but for the elf tribe it was beyond my capabilities. I felt it was like a challenge to myself. I began to perform covenant magic to be able to bind both Sora and Luna at the same time. And finally, the covenant creation for the two sisters was successful, but it seemed to consume too much energy for one of the strongest races, making me a little tired and fall down. Fortunately, the two Sora sisters caught me. Seeing this scene, sisters Kanade and Tanya became jealous. After completing the mission, I went to meet the hero group myself. I raised the Shield of Truth high, astonishing everyone. Arius was still resentful that I could conquer it in just 2 days. While they took a week and still couldn't do it, and he even thought it was fake, I couldn't say anything, so I let them check for themselves to be sure. Mina began to conduct a magic verification on the shield and proved it to be 100% genuine, although Arius couldn't believe it, and then he accidentally glanced at the two new faces and showed curiosity. I stood in front of him and told him not to bother with them. Fortunately, I had told the two of them to hide their wings, because if people knew the elf tribe had descended to the human village, there might have been a great shock. Immediately after, I demanded their payment. After confirming the task was completed, I swore to myself that I would never get involved with this group again. Suddenly, Agath called me back and asked if I wanted to rejoin the team. This statement angered Arius, and he scolded him. Agath wanted everyone to think together. Through recent events, everyone will surely understand that my support is necessary. They thought for a moment, and no one objected. And then Agath came to call me and agreed with me that he promised to improve my treatment, and even welcomed me as a comrade to go on adventures together. But this guy told me not to dwell on the past, which made me pause for a moment. I felt these people hadn't changed at all from before. I feel so stupid. At this moment, Kaneed's group stepped out and reassured my spirits. She held out her hand, saying they were waiting for me. Seeing that I seemed to refuse, Agath tried to persuade me that if I could defeat the Demon King, I would not only gain status and reputation, but also a huge sum of money. But for me, I don't need those things, because what I want are teammates, but they haven't changed. And now, it's good that what I originally wanted is right here. Arius's group, unable to invite me, turned to hatred and curses. Only Arius remained, contemplating his fight with me. That pain was not just pain, but an indelible humiliation. He couldn't believe that a hero like himself could be defeated by that man. Arius harbored resentment, determined to destroy me with his own hands. On this side, they were quite curious why only heroes could defeat the Demon King, and I explained that according to legend, the Demon Lord ruled humans with immense power, rendering them unable to resist. The first generation hero made a pact with the gods to destroy the Demon Lord and received their blood into his body. And he defeated the Demon King, freed humanity, and brought about a peaceful world. They felt the first generation hero was amazing compared to today's heroes, like heaven and earth. Therefore, that is why only heroes, those who carry the blood of the gods within them, can develop without limits and accumulate power, and then use that power to defeat the Demon Lord. But Kanade felt that a weakling like Arius was nothing like it. And as Sora thought, if that logic followed, She saw me as a hero too, because I could contract with all three strongest races and absorb the new abilities of all three races. They saw that I had surpassed the human development range. It's like breaking through limits to become a hero, isn't it? Kanade also felt that if I made contracts with the strongest races and increased my power rapidly, perhaps I would have enough strength to defeat the Demon King. Being praised like that made me quite bewildered. It's true that when I was still on the hero team, I made that goal my endeavor, but since being expelled, that goal has disappeared for me. Now I have met Arius's group and am living happily, but to be honest, if I could, I would also like to try fighting. But in the situation of defeating the Demon King, it will be different from doing normal quests because it involves many human lives, which makes me not fully ready. I don't have enough strength yet to make such a decision, as it is also thanks to everyone's support that I have reached where I am today. But anyway, it's already too late, so I'll try to think about it once and then reply to them later. I also feel that this is probably the time for me to choose my own path, and it is also approaching. Early in the morning, I was woken up by a piece of cloth thrown in my face. Today, my entire group sat down for breakfast together. They chatted about my power growing stronger after making pacts with the Sora sisters. I also treated them to a lavish meal with the payment from Arius's mission. I also decided to buy new equipment in town. On the way, the two Sora sisters held my hand tightly because they were afraid their elf race identity would be discovered. While being vigilant and cautious, the children were frightened by Tanya's henchmen who came looking for her. They were the two men Tanya had beaten at Stain Bridge, breaking their noses. Hearing them flatter her made big sister Tanya very proud. Meanwhile, Kanade was chatting with a fruit vendor by the roadside and was gifted an apple because Kanade had helped her carry things previously. Seeing Kanade and Tanya blend in with humans surprised the two sisters. Suddenly, a group of children appeared before them, startling them. A kid teased me, saying, "Are you bringing another wife home?" which made the two sisters feel embarrassed. Being called cute by the children made Sora even more ashamed. But on the contrary, Luna laughed heartily and even intended to scare them a little, almost revealing their identities. Fortunately, Sora and I managed to stop her in time. Sora warned Luna that if she used magic, her elf wings would appear. If humans found out, it would be troublesome. Finally, we arrived at the #1 weapon shop in town. The owner of this weapon shop is a grumpy dwarf. Kanade is quite afraid of this strict owner. But on the contrary, Tanya only feels that these dwarves are just eccentrics. Hearing this, the owner glanced at her, scaring Kanade. Meanwhile, Luna found a whip that piqued her curiosity. She thought that when it came to beast tamers, they should use this item, right? What could be better for beating those who disobey? Indeed, Luna's dark heart terrified Sora to death. As for me, I quickly chose a sharp knife that fit my hand. I had a strange feeling holding it, although it didn't look bad at all. At this moment, a tall, muscular man walked in, threw a wad of cash at the shopkeeper's face, and wanted to commission the most luxurious sword that suited him. The shopkeeper quickly went to fetch the smallest long sword to sell to him. At this point, I went to ask the shopkeeper. I suspected that he was hiding something, because judging by the outward appearance of the swords, I didn't think they were the best swords. Suddenly, everyone fell silent. Then the owner smiled and praised me for having a discerning eye. Similar to the knife earlier, everything here was something he had crafted in his spare time. In other words, he was ripping them off. Seeing this, Sora had to re-evaluate this dwarf. The shopkeeper was quite annoyed by what these children were saying, so he showed them his cherished collection. I wonder how he could create such extraordinary things, yet deceive customers like this. The shop owner simply felt this was a small test for them, because recently there have only been clients who don't consider their capabilities and suitability, but just throw a pile of money around and demand high-end weapons. The weapons he had wholeheartedly forged were later discarded when newer models appeared. That sight deeply disappointed him. To a smith like him, his creations were like his children. Suddenly, after hearing this, Tanya appeared from somewhere, rushed to the owner, and expressed that she truly understood him. This made the owner very happy. After a while of talking, the dwarf boss quite liked me, so he agreed to make a high-end weapon specifically for me. But there was one condition: he didn't have the material. As we were excitedly listening to this, everything went silent. Then, my team returned to the hall. Seeing everyone gathered happily today, Kanade ran to ask Natalie and learned that Hero Arius was here to recruit more support members to defeat the Demon King. After learning this, my face darkened. But I didn't want Kanade and Tanya to worry about me, so I patted their heads and told them I was fine. At this moment, Natalie noticed the presence of the two sisters from the spirit tribe and greeted them. Sora hid behind my back and shyly introduced herself, but Luna confidently stepped forward, clearly introducing her full name to her sister. When Natalie asked about the relationship, Luna gave a dark answer, making Natalie misunderstand that I dared to lay a hand on children. This forced me to quickly explain to Natalie. Then, I submitted a task request to Natalie for approval. In the request, we asked to investigate the Midrin mine from Gans, the owner of the weapon shop. As far as Tanya knew, any weapon forged from Midrin would be so excellent it could last a lifetime. While it was quite rare, his ancestors had passed down the mine to him, which was why he didn't lack the material. But recently, there seems to be no sign of Midrin ore anywhere. I don't think it's been completely mined out, because if the mineral reserves were depleted, the yield would surely decrease gradually. But if it suddenly disappeared in a strange way, I think the cause might stem from the mine. Without me saying it, Kanade and Tanya already knew what I wanted to do. And so I proposed to my boss that we investigate the mine. Seeing the passion and conviction in my eyes, he agreed to our request. When Gans mentioned compensating us for our help, I didn't want money. I only wanted to own the weapons he crafted. This surprised and delighted my employer, who readily agreed. After that, the whole group set off. Today, the road to this mining area was quite close, so we felt like we were going on a picnic. In contrast, behind the Sora sisters, I was so exhausted I could barely breathe, dizzy and spinning, until they couldn't take it anymore and melted away like ice. We rested for a while, feeling the weather was too hot. Fortunately, in front of us was a cool lake, as it was too suitable for a dip. They insisted that I let them go down for a swim. Before I could finish giving my instructions, Kanade had already taken off all her clothes. Fortunately, Tanya managed to stop her in time. To be safe, I temporarily made a pact with a squirrel so that if there was any danger, it would immediately alert Kanade's group. As for me, I'll take a short nap. Over here, as the sisters were soaking in the water, suddenly two of the girls spread their legs. When Kanade and Tanya were asked, they found out that the others wanted to know the secret to getting breasts as large as theirs. Kanade and Tanya just comforted them, saying that they would grow that big too. They were playfully joking around when something in the water startled Kanade, making her scream. I was jolted awake from my sleep and ran towards her to see what was happening, but in reality, it was just Luna dipping her hand into a fish to scare Kanade. My appearance startled everyone, and I turned away in shame. Soon after, I had to apologize before the Court of Sisters. To my surprise, Kanade and Tanya weren't angry. Instead, they were very happy that I heard their cries and rushed to their side, worried about them. My sisters forgave me, and I was happy again. Finally, after the troubles, we reached the Midrin mine. We hid to observe. In my opinion, there was illegal mining occurring here, and the movement of the bird in the sky seemed to be signaling its master. As predicted, the illegal loggers discovered our presence, so they emerged aggressively. I felt that in this situation, we also had to step out and confront them, so I told the sisters to go easy. But going easy on them rendered them all unconscious, so I couldn't interrogate them for information. Suddenly, Sora suggested she could view their memories with magic. The two sisters began to review their memories and discovered that I had guessed correctly. The little girl saw images of these men illegally mining, and they were also adventurers. After helping me, the two sisters asked to have their heads petted, like Kanade and Tanya, whenever they were rewarded. Having no other choice, I indulged them by patting their heads, which made them very happy. This time, we will infiltrate the mining area, and I warned them to be prepared for their identities to be discovered as we are being observed by the enemy from the sky. We are certain that the enemy side also has a beast tamer. As soon as we entered the mine, we received a magic fireball hurtling towards us. Fortunately, the sisters, Sora and Luna, stepped forward to block it. The sisters wanted to quickly resolve the issue to be petted by me again. Tanya and Kanade also quickly joined in to help them. The remaining one I'll handle. He committed illegal mining but still refused to surrender, even drawing a knife to stab me, but I still managed to take him down. He still refused to admit defeat and summoned a B-class monster, Behemoth, to fight. Tanya's group realized that this guy was a monster tamer. Logically, taming a monster requires many times the normal amount of technique and magic power. He explained that this was a monster he had encountered since its birth and had raised it until now, so it would not be hostile towards him. Behemoth received the order and lunged at me to attack. Its attack power was immense. They were afraid the mine would collapse. While fighting the monster, I signaled for them to get the remaining people out safely first. Tanya will watch the outside, and Kanade will come in to help me. I instructed Kanade to neutralize that guy for me, while I will be responsible for fighting Behemoth because it's acting under his command. Instead, to prevent it, we must capture the man, which will be faster. Indeed, Behemoth hits hard, but its attacks are too simple. Now that I understand its movement patterns, there's no way it can hit me. However, if this isn't resolved soon, this mine won't last long. On this side, Kanade had just silenced that guy. I had come up with a method to defeat that monster, but I was afraid I couldn't do it. Fortunately, in my memory right now, Kanade's encouraging words echoed, making me decide to believe in myself so as not to disappoint everyone. I succeeded in taming the Behemoth and bringing it under my control. I overwrote that man's dominance over the Behemoth. Originally, stealing a tamer's dominance was impossible, but I thought if I had the strength everyone talked about, perhaps it is possible. The man still could not accept the truth that he had lost his dominance over Behemoth, so he tried to instill his commands into it to stimulate its abilities. Unexpectedly, the man was attacked by it. In that dangerous moment, I managed to stop the Behemoth with a fireball, knocking it down. The man still didn't understand why he failed, so I explained that between monsters and humans, even when domesticated, hostility cannot be eliminated, as it had reacted to his hostility, causing it to lose control, so I had to rein it in to control it. After hearing the story about the illegal mining group, I learned that they all had one thing in common. They bought weapons from Gans, they bought fakes that he made in his spare time. When they found out, they thought about getting revenge by stealing Midrin, so he couldn't forge weapons anymore. When Gans was informed, he was quite confused. He also felt guilty for playing tricks on both customers and weapons as a test. I did not argue and still agreed with the boss's disappointment, and I placed my hand on Gans's, urging him to fix it, for I knew everyone would make mistakes, and we just need to know and correct them. I advise you to put all your heart into crafting each weapon as before, and everything will be fine. Gans, at his age, was being lectured by a child, but he wasn't bothered and would try to change for the better. To start, Gans would begin crafting a weapon for me. Hearing this, I whispered to the boss that I wanted it made according to my own idea. They were talking in secret, which made Kanade's group quite curious. Meanwhile, Arias' group was busy recruiting more support members, but couldn't find anyone suitable. Even when a beast tamer applied, Arias flatly refused because he could only command one animal and couldn't even fight. He was even very confused when Arias asked if he could command the strongest tribe, because for a human beast tamer, commanding the strongest tribe was impossible. When Arias had eliminated the last person, he appeared disheartened and weary. Mina felt that not only the man from earlier, but also the others who had participated in the recruitment were capable of being qualified for the support role. But Arias was still not satisfied with anyone, and they were also being compared to me. She felt that if this situation continued, they would not be able to continue their journey, and the mission to defeat the Demon King would remain distant. Therefore, she went to tell Arias that his selection criteria were a bit harsh on them, but he refused. It was precisely because I was no longer there that this anger automatically fell upon her. Although displeased, Mina gritted her teeth and endured, solely because it was the duty of a servant of the gods. After saying this, Arias let Mina return to rest. Before she left, she advised him not to worry too much, because his mission was to save this world. But for Arias, he didn't feel that way, because before saving the world, his top priority was to eliminate me at all costs. The next day, I went to the guild and inquired about what had happened to those who had illegally exploited Gans's mine. Natalie revealed that they had been stripped of their adventurer status after the incident and were forced into labor. Because illegal mining and monster breeding are two very serious offenses, she thought it was a fitting punishment. I stepped out with a dejected expression, informing the sisters Sora and Luna of what had just happened. After that, I took the two sisters on a tour of the food market and bought them 2 hot dogs. Because they were so delicious, they ate them up in a few bites and then felt regret. At this point, Luna wanted to ask me about the abilities I had after forming pacts with the 2 sisters, as I already possessed physical abilities from Kanade and enhanced magic from Tanya. So they wanted to know what had changed after I made a pact with the 2 sisters. Even though the 2 girls were eagerly awaiting my answer, I myself didn't know if there was anything special about me. My cold response plunged the 2 sisters into panic and confusion. They were certain that I also possessed my clan's ultimate magic. This is because ultimate magic is a secret technique far beyond the advanced and super levels that only their spirit clan could wield. although Sora's group couldn't achieve it. They hoped I would receive it. But unexpectedly, the more I talked, the less I understood, disappointing the two sisters, because after making the pact, there was nothing like the two older sisters. They even called themselves failed spirit beasts, which confused me and made me unsure of what to do, so I patted their heads to comfort them, telling them not to be sad and blame themselves like that. They wonder why I trusted them so much, because they are the ones who were abandoned by the village and have faced terrible things. They feel I am very different, because alongside me, even with strong people present, I still need them. So I sat down and explained in detail to them. I even told them about my sad past as an insecure person, always trying to be helpful but ending up being dismissed. Therefore, I learned from experience, I want to build trust with the teammates I want to accompany. And that includes Sora and Luna as my teammates, even without abilities from contracts. After hearing this story, the two little girls also became more lively and optimistic, which greatly relieved me. We were out for a walk when we encountered a blonde hooligan. His words frightened the two sisters. They thought it was something serious, but it turned out to be just a playboy who allowed them to be his women. Hearing this, both looked at him with disdain. The blonde playboy, upon going outside, discovered two beauties on the street. Sora's face turned ashen with fear when a man she had just met allowed her to be his woman. Meanwhile, Luna beside him was scolding him, calling him an idiot. The more they said that, the more interesting he found them. This fellow was Iga Frogware, the son of the Lord who ruled this city of Horizon. He kept inviting them, but Sora and her sister refused, so he had to resort to force. He thought having more subordinates would help him win, but unexpectedly, I defeated them all in a few moves. However, Iga still wouldn't give up, wanting to have the two sisters at all costs. So he used the townspeople as a punishment to force me to hand over the two sisters. He saw the people as mere tools, so he didn't care. In my subconscious, the positions of opponents are scattered. If I save one person, others will be harmed, leaving me unsure how to proceed. Although the sisters wanted to help, I feared that if they used magic, people would discover they were from the Elven clan. After doing so, they might no longer be able to live freely in the city. The two sisters were so happy, and I couldn't bear to leave them like that. While looking for a way, an idea struck me. I had to take a risk. I continuously chanted incantations for the fireball magic. It was still a special skill of the elf tribe, so Sora and Luna recognized it immediately. Only this will make the opposing side fearful and retreat. Sora's group also came to thank me for protecting their group, and there were also people in the town who greatly admired a beast tamer like me. An old woman suddenly advised us to flee quickly, which quite surprised us. Somewhere, I didn't realize Arius was standing by, watching me intently. Returning home, the two sisters excitedly told Kanade and Tanya about my new skill from their elf tribe. I felt the same way, because with this continuous spell, both power and accuracy, I had mastered it better during special training, thanks to the contract I made with them. Now Luna and her sister can also hold their heads a little higher, as they are also excellent spirit beasts like Kanade's group. Fortunately, they are safe, so Tanya and Kanade are temporarily at ease. I heard the townspeople tell stories, and I realized I was more terrifying than they thought. He kidnapped and imprisoned the girls he liked in his mansion, and was also said to have abused them. The Lord also doted on Iga too much, because he was his only son, so all of Iga's wrongdoings were quickly erased without a trace. Tanya, with her fiery temper, even wanted to burn down the Lord's mansion immediately, as she thought they would eventually target Sora's group, me, or even the townspeople. I quietly thought that after knowing all the dark sides of this city, I wanted to save everyone even more. But I was only hindered by the fact that I was just a beast tamer, not a brave hero. At this moment, looking at my contemplative expression, Kanade and Tanya guessed my thoughts. They knew that although I wanted to save everyone, I was wary of powerful opponents, so I am hesitating between them and the people of the city. They said that not only I, but they also truly want to protect this city. Realizing everyone's support makes me feel stronger, determined to save this city together. Meanwhile, Iga was ordering his soldiers to cover up the damage that had occurred that afternoon, and also to find out about me and bring me to him, because he hated me for giving him a humiliating defeat he couldn't overlook. In his rage, on this side, Kanade and I went to the Night Knights team to submit the damage report. When she heard us request an investigation into the violent behavior of Iga, the Lord's son, her expression changed to one of extreme fear. She stammered, not knowing how to answer. Then, a group of soldiers stood up and spoke to me. They said it was just a minor dispute, so they wouldn't intervene to investigate. Moreover, they mocked me, warning me to be careful lest I be accused of damaging Lord Iga's reputation. Their attitude seemed unhelpful, so I turned back. Because I know they are covering up Iga's case, even if they investigate, they won't find any evidence. Suddenly, Kanade felt like someone was watching us. She was a female knight named Stella. She was misunderstood as stalking us, so she bowed her head in apology, which surprised me quite a bit as I didn't expect a knight with high self-esteem to bow down to us. Stella is a female knight currently serving as the vice captain of the Horizon Knights branch. We were surprised because Stella thanked us before we even spoke. Previously, Stella had heard of an adventurer who, along with a young lady from the Spirit Cat tribe, had eliminated the Black Fang criminal gang. And even you, as a knight, have never accomplished anything. Therefore, you truly want to prosecute the wrongdoings of the Lord's group and express your desire to cooperate with my group. Because they colluded with the Lords, the Knights forgot their duty, indulging only in debauchery, even covering up the crimes of the Lord or his son, and even despising those they were supposed to protect. The captain led the way, Juliet as well, so Stella really wanted the Knights to return to their original nature. She observed the appearance of the two as they denounced Iga's crimes. That gave her a glimmer of hope or some kind of turning point. Stella begged me if I could lend her that power to fulfill her wish. I was a little suspicious that this was a trap, but Kanade reassured me that Stella wasn't a bad person, as she didn't give off any bad vibes. Hearing Kanade's judgment, I agreed to cooperate with Stella. She asked me why I intended to report the Lord's son. When I said, "Just because I saw it, I will do it," it made Stella laugh heartily. It wasn't because she looked down on me, but because I replied too seriously, and my personality made her quite fond. After seeing that, Stella seemed to be moved, so she shed tears. To comfort her, I shook Stella's hand as encouragement. As a first step, I'll help her clean up the Knights by setting a trap for them. Rumor has it that there is evidence of collusion between Captain Juliet and the Lord being hidden in a warehouse outside the city. Juliet doesn't believe it much either, because if the rumor were true, they would be dead. Therefore, he wanted to handle it carefully and quickly, to deceive the naive Knights, who still harbored unrealistic dreams of chivalry. Juliet ordered the soldiers to begin their operation. Unexpectedly, when they entered, they were intercepted by Sora and Luna's group. Inside the warehouse, I used the weapon I had just bought from the dwarf shop. It's a fantastic suit of armor that helps me shoot with 100% accuracy. The last shot was for Juliet, but he detected and dodged it. Recognizing her colleague, Juliet was surprised. Stella made no attempt to hide it and told him that her teammates and subordinates were cracking down on the entire Knights branch, and there was also evidence of his corruption. When Juliet heard Stella mention my name, he seemed to snap out of it and swung his sword to deal with me to hand over to Lord Iga. Stella was furious and wanted to step forward to finish this herself. Juliet threatened that she would be executed for treason. Then he rushed to attack her. In reality, Stella was no match for him, but she remained fearless and stood up to continue fighting. She determined to stab him with a strong knife, making him fall down. Meanwhile, Iga was torturing the little girl because she had told him that Juliet's group had been captured, and now Stella held the Knights. Despite being cornered, he remained indifferently optimistic, believing that having some soldiers at home was enough. Suddenly, a weak voice came from the window. It was Arius who disguised himself and offered to cooperate with him against me. Upon hearing that I was the one who could command the strongest tribe and would rob him of all his status, glory, money, and women, Iga became extremely enraged. At this moment, Arius threw him a magic-filled ring and told him to use it to finish me off. Iga's negativity and hatred were evident, which pleased Arius greatly as it would further enhance the ring's power. Stella, after being promoted to Knight Captain, began her investigation. She led the soldiers to the mansion and requested an urgent investigation of the Lord. She also announced that Juliet, the former captain, had been arrested for bribery. Stella's request was denied, and they sent a troop of soldiers to intercept her. If so, Stella's team must don their armor to prepare for the assault, and this time, they have the support of two beautiful girls, Kanade and Tanya. Inside the mansion, Iga observed them fighting outside and mocked them. He had also seen the two strongest tribes I was commanding enter inside. He will use this ring to break their contract, making them lose their reason to fight. Instead, he will become their new master. On this side, I have succeeded in distracting them and infiltrating the villa. Our mission is to rescue the hostages, but Luna is too loud, making Sora and I afraid that Iga will find out and break their necks. After that, Luna and Sora perform a searching spell. When they find people, they will evacuate them to a safe place by teleportation. This way, Kanade's group, who are creating a diversion, can unleash their full power, and then they would capture the Lord's son, obtain evidence of corruption, and victory would lean in their favor. At this moment, Luna felt it strange, because if the human was captured, the large amount of magical energy in the basement could not be mistaken. Luna could feel a massive non-human reaction, and the amount of magic was on par with the two sisters. I suspected it was one of the strongest tribes too, but I didn't understand why one of the strongest tribes would be here. I'll let Sora and Luna continue their search, while I'll go identify that magic. Because in this situation, overlooking a character of unknown identity would be a bad move. Sora and Luna were quite worried about me going alone because that magic power was on par with theirs. But they were still sad that I patted their heads to reassure them that I would be fine. I also feel guilty that to save everyone, the identities of two people were exposed. Luna stood up and offered me that if I didn't return safely, she would punish me by making me rub their heads 100 times. I began my investigation. I happened to suspect this room, so I stepped inside. To my surprise, the room contained a sturdy steel cage, and the person imprisoned within looked like a fox with 3 tails. I couldn't be mistaken because that's one of the strongest races, the God race. I immediately broke the lock and rushed in to heal the little girl, which frightened her immensely. The little girl named Nina, hearing that I was her ally, was saddened and hugged me tightly. Nina belongs to the Divine Tribe, one of the strongest tribes. The little girl lived very happily in a village. Day after day, she indulged in sound sleep or met the kind villagers who cherished her. Until one day, Iga's appearance changed Nina's life. He forced her to become his prisoner. Otherwise, the kind villagers here would be punished. Nina was timid and only obeyed his orders, wearing an enchanted slave collar. After, I want to save Nina, but she said this necklace is enchanted with powerful magic. I reassured her that she could trust me, so the little girl obediently sat and waited for me to save her. I want to try again the magic of stealing dominance with my power, but it seems the necklace is too strong, making me look very pained. Seeing me in such pain, Nina blamed herself even more. Suddenly, I remembered that I didn't just have my own strength, but also the immense power of Kanade, Tanya, and the twin sisters Sora and Luna. And so I gathered everyone's strength and performed magic, successfully breaking that necklace for Nina. Outside the city, they were fighting fiercely with the soldiers, realizing they couldn't defeat Kanade's group. They used hostages from the basement as bait. Unexpectedly, on this side, the sisters Sora and Luna had just finished dealing with the rest and brought all the hostages to safety. The outside will be handed over to them, and Stella will charge into the mansion to capture the Lord and his son. Inside the mansion, the Lord, sensing the unstable situation, ran to speak to his son. Ega told his father to run ahead, and that he would stay behind to destroy evidence of corruption. When everyone entered the villa, I had just rescued Nina. Everyone was quite surprised to see another member of the strongest clan, so they scolded me again for getting involved with a girl. I was flustered and didn't know how to respond, as it seemed I always attracted girls. Iga also felt it was rare because the gods were always worshipped by humans. They shouldn't appear so much in front of humans. But now she was here. Kanade seems to really like Nina's soft fur. The girl, though a little shy, obediently listened. Stella also just came in and thanked me very much. Thanks to me, she was able to carry out her plan. At this moment, the Lord was packing his belongings to flee when he encountered everyone who was already waiting in the main hall. I used my weapon to shoot a rope that bound the warlord. Suddenly, Iga burst out and unleashed death magic from her ring, causing me, by my carelessness, to be dealt a fatal blow. Arius on the rooftop was satisfied that his plan had succeeded, but he didn't expect that I was unaffected, which made them very anxious. That was an ultimate level magic, the Grim Reaper's scythe, which caused sudden death, but I was unaffected. Kanade's group admired me even more, because I could withstand all kinds of magic. But Luna seemed to be thinking of something and called me over to spray me with poisonous smoke. Sora, seeing this, strangled his sister for being too hasty, because in this world, how could a spirit beast possibly use poisonous magic on its master? Indeed, Luna had always wondered when I made a pact with the two sisters. Isn't it too unfair to only receive one skill? Therefore, after a while, she guessed that it was the abnormal state nullification skill thanks to the contract with them. That's why the poison didn't work earlier. In the end, she satisfied her curiosity and also learned about my new skill. Sora was furious that Luna dared to experiment on me without telling her. The noisy clamor of the two sisters frightened and made little Nina tremble. Iga up here was now very disappointed and couldn't believe he had failed. Indeed, as Arius had said, I will take everything from him, making the hatred within him further amplify the power of that ring. That magic began to spread throughout Iga's body and had a very unpleasant smell. That purple substance swallowed Iga and resurrected the demon race once more. That's also what ruined my childhood. The newly resurrected demon seemed quite interested, but because there were too few people here, he flew into the city to harm the residents. I felt uneasy, fearing the townspeople would be harmed. But when I returned, I found my real teammates waiting for me. Understanding each other's intentions, I began to plan. I asked Stella to look after the people and Nina. But at this moment, Nina grabbed my sleeve and signaled that she also wanted to help. I knew Nina hated fighting, so I comforted her, telling her to just wait for them obediently. My group ran into town to stop the demon's actions, telling them I would defeat him. The demon laughed heartily and was very interested in me. When he revealed his weakness, Kanad and Tanya directly attacked him. I used the ropes to distract him for the little squirrel to set up magic to deal with him beautifully. But in reality, their attacks seemed useless, because seeing 5 against 1, with me having 4 of the strongest clans, the demon asked permission to call more brothers to welcome them. He summoned many monsters that he considered his cute servants, but to Kanadi's group, they were just small fry. However, they hadn't expected the demon to be able to summon these monsters infinitely. Kanade aggressively charged forward to continue the fight, but was hit by the demon's attack and fell to the ground. Tanya, enraged, unleashed her dragon breath to fight him. Meanwhile, Sora and Luna will heal Kanade. But Tanya's dragon breath seemed unable to withstand the demon's power, so she fainted there. He began to unleash attacks that destroyed all the houses in the city. My team continuously cast magic to attack him again. I started to empower multiple targets on Kanade and Tanya. The two began to furiously attack him, but their punches had no effect on him. Moreover, the demon summoned more monsters to surround my group. The demon left its underlings behind and flew into the sky, intending to destroy the horizon. Tanya urgently breathed out dragonfire, so she could stop it for a moment. At this moment, a fleeting idea sparked in my mind, but if I were to act on it, the city's inhabitants would be in danger. Therefore, Sora's group volunteered to assist me by teleporting the citizens to a safe area using magic. During that time, my team will eliminate the demon. They told me not to worry about their identities being exposed, as their identities are already known to everyone rescued in the mansion. After planning, each group will get to their work. In the meantime, Arius's hero group is still discussing whether to join the battle, as they heard there is a demon, and demons are the vanguard of the Demon King. Arius refused this support, saying their enemy was the Demon Lord, so they should be left alone. Mina and Agath wanted to complain about this, but hesitated with Arius. At the same time, Stella's army also engaged in battle to protect the people. Stella did not allow them to give up, as their mission was to protect both the people and the city. Sora and Luna suddenly ran over, panting, with a request for the evacuation of the people. Stella, after hearing it, agreed to help immediately. Stella and her soldiers, after hearing the plan, departed, leaving Mina to Sora's group for protection. Kanade and Tanya were still diligently working to save the people from those monsters. Their mission is to clear the path for people to reach Sora's group's teleportation magic. Humans, upon seeing the appearance of the elves, who hate humans, cannot trust them. They were afraid that if they plunged into that magic, it would be very dangerous, and at this moment, Sora and Luna looked very sad. The owner of the hot dog stand they had eaten at before recognized them and came to ask. The uncle smiled happily and volunteered to step into the magic circle first. Then, the little girl they had met in town also recognized them and spoke to them, and the townspeople they had saved also stepped in one by one. The two sisters began to perform magic to get them to safety successfully. Before they could evacuate all the people, a soldier announced that the monsters were approaching them. Luna handed over the task of performing magic to her sister, while she would be responsible for rushing up to help. While fighting the endless stream of monsters, Kanade and Tanya were almost exhausted. Fortunately, there was the special appearance of the group of adventurers Tanya had disciplined once to help. Not only them, but also the Horizon Adventurer team, who considered this a special mission requiring support from my team. Currently, they are playing the role of knights driving away the monsters attacking the city. Since Arius's hero team is not participating, Natalie thinks this will be a difficult battle. Even Gantz, the city's leading weapons dealer, offered combat weapons to everyone. These were all treasured weapons he had painstakingly created. They were all determined to unite, to keep this city of Horizon safe, and pave the way for my team to advance. Nina, watching the older siblings give their all to protect each other, felt a surge of strength within her. Although she was afraid of getting hurt or hurting others, when she saw everyone trying their best to resist, she had a new thought. Although we got closer, I felt the distance was still too great to reach the demon's front. She suggested Tanya transform into a dragon and fly up, but Tanya couldn't do it, because with that lineup, she would have difficulty executing. Even if she approached, she would just become a target and couldn't touch him. Even Sora's teleportation magic wasn't enough for that, but she knew there was one person capable of the most precise teleportation. That was the strongest race, the divine race. At the same time, Nina ran to me and hugged me tightly. Seeing her, Kanade and Tanya remembered. They had heard that the divine race possessed a special ability that other strongest races did not have, which was spatial manipulation for instant teleportation. I also asked if she could help. Although Nina was quite shy, she still agreed to lend me her strength. Kanade and Tanya would be responsible for taking down the monsters down here, while Nina and I will approach the demon together. I use Gans's armored weapon to avoid attacks while moving. When he throws a giant magic orb at me, Nina immediately uses teleportation magic to appear in front of him, making him confused and wary. I began to strengthen my inner power, then abruptly teleported in front of him and attempted to overwrite his dominance over his monsters. The demon could not believe that a human like me could steal his dominance. When asked about my identity, I just smiled and introduced myself as just an ordinary beast tamer. The enraged demon broke my magic binding circle and charged at me. Unexpectedly, I ordered his own monsters to attack him, making him unable to resist and gradually disappear into space. Although it was beyond his prediction, he seemed to find me very interesting and wanted to know my name before he died, but still received a cold refusal from me. Finally, it was all over, and Nina beside me was exhausted and fell into the void. Fortunately, Tanya caught them safely. The sunlight of Horizon City had also returned. After that incident, the city gradually returned to its former vibrancy. Stella also officially took office as the captain of the Knights division. If it were her, I am sure she could transform the Knights a great deal. According to her, those involved in the corruption scandal have been brought to the Imperial capital to receive their punishment. Stella also reviewed the story of Nina's village. It is said that the villagers abandoned their village because Nina was taken away, but I believe that as long as they are alive, their reunion moment will come sooner or later. Kanade is incredibly enthusiastic about restoring the city, as if she has fully become a citizen of Horizon, and Tanya is still hiding the fact that she is a member of the Dragon Clan, but it seems everyone has known her identity for a long time. Sora and Luna were quite adapted to life in this city, occasionally stopping by Uncle's hot dog stand for snacks. Although I saved everyone like a hero, I didn't dare call myself a hero, as I always felt I was just an ordinary beast tamer you could find anywhere. Kanade's group is always helpless against my humble words. After supporting my group in combat, Nina also greatly desires to become my strength, just like her other sisters. I understand Nina, so I welcome her too. It's just that I've already made pacts with everyone else. Now, making a pact with Nina, I'm not too confident, but looking into everyone's eyes, I decided to take a gamble. A few minutes later, I succeeded in forming a contract with Nina. As soon as it was done, Kanade and Tanya rushed to hug and dote on the Beast Girl. Even Sora and Luna were very happy, because they always wanted a cute little sister like that. After reuniting, my group went to the guild and met Stella. They wondered why the Knight Captain was at the Adventurers Guild today. Stella said that from now on, the Adventurers and the Knights had decided to cooperate with each other. So they are now discussing with each other to maintain security together. Everyone is very happy because they are heading in a good direction. Stella is very grateful to everyone because thanks to my team, she was able to fulfill her wish to bring the Knights back to their original nature. And at this moment, Natalie also signaled that she had something for them. Taking this opportunity, Natalie announced that the guild would decide to promote me to C-rank adventurer. I feel like this lady is buffing me a bit too much since I only recently leveled up to rank E. But Natalie has a good reason to promote me 2 ranks to C without any issues. She even considered buffing me up to A rank, which would be more fitting for me. And there was a mountain of money I would receive as a reward. Feeling my pockets warm, I decided to treat everyone to a good meal. By the way, Natalie noticed Nina as a new face. I immediately introduced Nina as my new teammate. Natalie couldn't resist and hugged her tightly, but looking closely, she realized the girl belonged to the divine race and was startled. She whispered to me, asking if Nina would be angry because she had unintentionally treated her like a child. When Natalie received Nina's reply that she wouldn't be angry, Natalie hugged her again. And then, the sisters also wanted to cuddle Nina together with her. After that, I began to discuss the team, as the group now had too many members, making their current rented room too cramped. Hearing this, Natalie suggested I could buy a house, and mentioned that the guild also helps with housing and even offers financial subsidies, especially for capable adventurers who wish to stay in the city. Her captivating gaze conveyed her determination not to let us leave the city. I asked for everyone's opinion, and it seemed everyone agreed to stay in this city. I've also saved quite a bit, and now I have the association subsidy. Therefore, I decided to sign the contract to buy a house. After looking at many houses in the city, the sisters couldn't find any they were satisfied with. Natalie introduced the last house, which was comfortable and airy, and they immediately liked it. This house was built with wood and had a spacious garden based on Kanade and Sora's wishes. Additionally, there are over 10 rooms that can accommodate larger beds upon Tanya's request, and the kitchen and bathtub that Luna and Nina are looking for are also fully equipped. Furthermore, the interior is within my budget. Tanya stood up and asked her why she hadn't recommended such a good house before. Luna smelled her scheming. Natalie, her heart struck by the truth, recoiled in surprise. With everyone's eyes fixed on her, she had to reveal that a woman in white had appeared there. Hearing this appearance, Kanade was scared and hid behind me. Tanya was very disappointed with her, as she was supposed to be from the strongest tribe yet feared ghosts. This time, she even had to be comforted by the little squirrel. At this moment, everyone swallowed nervously, waiting to hear Natalie's story. It's the story of a pillow flipped after a nap. There was also hot bath water replaced with cold. During meals, sugar and salt were swapped. There was even a rotten egg placed in the shoes that had been taken out. Furthermore, leftover curry from the evening had been smeared on the clothes that were about to dry. Hearing that, Kanade was so scared she tucked her tail. Although they were a bit reluctant to stay in this place, they would regret it if they missed this house. Therefore, I proposed something. We will investigate this house first, and then think about what we can do. My team opened the door and stepped inside. The house was dark. Nina just sneezed, and Kanade tightly grabbed Tanya's tail and pulled it. This doesn't feel like a haunted house because it's as clean as if it were regularly maintained. Suddenly, the table, chairs, and other objects around here began to shake and move on their own, and there was even a voice telling us to leave. Kanade, who was already afraid of ghosts, panicked and ran around. Before them, a woman in a maid outfit suddenly appeared, chasing them away. Sora's group performed magic to eliminate this small ghost, but the woman still appeared, hovering upside down from the ceiling. The sisters are discussing what kind of magic to use, because if they use too much force, they'll blow away both the ghost and this house. Hearing this, the ghost seemed scared but still messed everything up to drive them out. Tanya realized the ghost didn't seem to know how to attack. They pointed out the ghost's weakness, which annoyed her greatly. But noticing a character who seemed quite afraid of her, the ghost poked its head up from the floor to scare Kanade, making her run all over the place. Because the ghost had inadvertently triggered Kanade's fear, she lashed out with her claws, tearing the ghost's clothes and leaving it utterly bewildered. Tanya also realized the weakness that could harm the soul body with the physical body. As Kanade's fear reached its peak, now the one who was afraid was the ghost itself. Kanade went mad and started biting her skirt and breaking things. Moreover, she suddenly appeared, scaring the ghost back. Seizing this opportunity, Sora and Luna cast a sealing spell so the ghost could no longer escape. Kanade bristled, about to lunge forward, but Tanya grabbed him midair like a mad cat. Now I'm starting to negotiate with that ghost. The ghost tried to possess me but failed. I sealed the ghost's ability to teleport because when I was little, I heard a neighbor uncle tell me about ghosts and soul tamers, but he didn't tell me how I could control a ghost like you. Because I saw that the ghost in front of me still had a clearer personality than ordinary ghosts, I thought she would be more receptive to me. The ghost was about to react but was pinned to the floor by me, wriggling like a beached fish. Knowing she had lost, she gave me the freedom to do whatever I wanted. Unexpectedly, I wanted to shake hands with her, making her laugh because I was a strange person. She introduced herself as Tina, someone who used to be a maid in another town but had checked out 30 years ago and drifted here because she was an unascended spirit. Tanya wondered why she had become a ghost. Then, Tina explained that her former owner was an evil, lecherous, and sadistic pervert. She was also his victim. When she realized, she opened her eyes and was already a ghost. Because she lost to my group, she agreed to leave. I asked Kinnaid what she thought, and she said that although she was scared, she would probably be okay if she was with everyone. So I asked Tina for permission for us to live here. Tina was quite shocked because she had planned to leave, but for me, it was precisely because of her presence that we could buy this house at a low price, so I suggested she stay with us. Kanata only asked Tina not to fly through walls and to not scare them. Sora and Luna's group, seeing she was a former maid, thought she would be a great cook, and thus wanted her to teach them cooking as well. I welcomed Tina warmly, so she agreed to stay. Afterward, I successfully signed the contract to buy the house. Natalie was very surprised by me, because I could even make friends with a ghost, showing my caliber. At the market, the fruit seller uncle was selling his goods when he encountered Arius' group of heroes. He offered the uncle the chance to choose food for them for a week, but without any money, and used his hero status to get it for free. The boss immediately refused because he didn't have enough goods for them. When they kept mentioning their identity as a team of heroes, the boss was clearly annoyed and scolded them for not helping Horizon at all and acting high and mighty. Along with that, the remaining merchants also refused to provide them with food. The surrounding people also began to mock and criticize them, causing Arius to leave in anger. Hearing them mention me only fueled Arius' hatred. Meanwhile, I had just returned from the market with Kinnaid. Suddenly, Kinnaid ran in front of me and opened her mouth to welcome me back, surprising me. That evening, we had a housewarming party together. These were all dishes that Tina had taught Luna to make. Luna was very confident that from now on, she would be in charge of cooking, not her older sister. There was so much food that little Nina didn't know where to start, and Kanata and Tanya lost control, diving in to find their favorite dish, meat, and gobbling it up. At this time, little Nina received a lot of love and warmth. She then expressed her gratitude to me for making her no longer lonely. Nina's words once again reminded me of the past. The day I lost everything, there was a huge void in my heart. But it's not like that anymore, because we are teammates. Tina, seeing this, was deeply impressed by them. Although the adventure with Arius' group couldn't fill the void in my heart, only when I became an adventurer to live a free life and meet people did I feel warmer than ever. In a moment of emotion, I shed tears unintentionally, but I brushed them away, saying it was just because I was hungry. After that, everyone together started the housewarming party for the new house. The story of the beast tamer who was kicked out of the heroes' party and met a group of cat-eared girls from the strongest clan ends here.